Hey, this is Jason J. Lewis, Superman from Justice League Action, and you're watching SuperWonder Legacy.
You're strong.
I know.
Are you a sight for sore eyes?
It's nice to have someone who likes you for being you.
It's okay. I've got you now.
Just like in the movies.
Welcome to SuperWonder Legacy. I am Jared. I am here with Britt. What's up, Britt?
Hello, hello.
And today we are discussing the DCU birds. Essentially what we're doing is, let's say they got smart and decided to go this direction for like Superman, Wonder Woman. And it's also because what we would want to see in a DCU adaptation of Wonder Woman, because that's obviously what everyone's concerned about right now, because I still do not think they will go in any way in the Tom King direction. But it's just like the concern is there because DC and representing Wonder Woman properly don't go together sometimes.
Exactly. That's true.
So it's like, ugh. But so we don't even know yet who's going to be playing Diana. So we're going to start with speculation, hopes, and the weight of expectations. Because here's the thing: this is the interesting thing about this particular casting, because it's like, first off, the people doing the fan castings, a lot of them are extremely superficial. Like, it gets down to the point, Britt, where it's like, no, as long as she's tall, I don't care. Tall or like ridiculously jacked. And I'm like, no. How about someone that's a good actor?
Right. I mean, some of these fans, it's very superficial how they look at Diana already. But yeah, she's supposed to be tall. She's supposed to have this certain physique. For me personally, she needs to have some melanin, of course. She needs to have this sort of exotic feel to her,
and not be obsessed with Steve Trevor.
Of course. And she is supposed to have, as far as her characterization, the compassion and like the social butterfly, sweet and just so curious of the world, but not like Snow White, not like this Disney princess that's borderline an airhead or nothing like that. Just that she is curious to learn, and also bring in, which we'll get into, Julia and Vanessa to really drive home the mother and daughter, theme that's supposed to go across the Wonder Woman mythos. It's kind of like
Britt, all you have to do the mother and daughter thing is give her Trinity. I'm just kidding.
I was about to say something.
I have to push because, trust me, I don't want Trinity in anything. Just want to be clear on that.
Honestly, she's not. The only reason why she exists is for Steve to die and for Diana to basically just be pathetic and give up on life. So,
well, yeah, it's just so Tom King can justify his obsession with Steve Trevor.
Yeah, I mean, and the fact that he's bold enough to pretty much admit that, is very telling.
Yeah, and to call Steve Captain America, and I'm like, that is a very simplistic way of looking at things.
Only because they're blondes and named Steve.
And soldiers. But beyond that, Captain America is an actual honorable man, as opposed to Steve Trevor, who in all likelihood gave intel that led to Amazons being killed for acts in order to maintain his position.
I mean,
you can't tell me the Sovereign didn't know about his relationship with Diana. Actually, they did know, and didn't lean on him. You can't tell me that didn't happen.
Right. But when you're trying to tell this kind of story and be so focused on traditional relationships and trying to make it work and everything like that, all of those details are ignored. And what's so funny is how SuperWonder was put under a microscope, and you had contrived conflict, from Tomasi to break them up. So you basically gloss over the actual flaws and just very contradictory things with these traditional relationships that shouldn't work, but you glamorize it or glorify it, to and justify it. But yeah, the way the fans are responding to how well King already makes it known, what he is doing. So it's not really that hard to, I guess, sway the opinion. But it's the fact that people are realizing, yeah, Steve is a very problematic character and he should stay in the abyss.
Well, yeah, and the other thing is like, hey, look, here's the thing about Steve. I've said this many times. Steve is a plot device as a character. His only use to Wonder Woman is getting her off the island. Once she's off the
Yes.
island, his usefulness to her goes from as at least if we're not talking about the George Perez version, goes about to as much as like Lois Lane in a crisis event. I had to.
It's true, though. It's true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very true. But it's like, so now we're going to get to part one speculation. So again, it's like we have that one casting that's supposed to be like this warrior chick that, correct me if I'm wrong, she's supposed to be essentially a lead in the movie, right?
Yes, she is actually, the detail is that she is the new female lead in the movie.
If it is Diana, I'm gonna laugh my ass off if it is Diana because she will be replacing Lois.
I mean, you had a CGI dog that was lead in the first movie, so
yeah, but still, it'd be even more hilarious. I'm like, oh, really? I see his new 52 fan base is coming out. But it's like, let me put it this way: if it is Diana, great. I'm just back and forth on if I want James Gunn writing Diana.
I mean, eventually he would write her because I believe he's doing the Justice League movie. Because this is his verse or his vision. So he would write her. And being that he is in control, even though you have individual directors and writers, they still have to come to him, and he still has to give them notes for certain things. So it's not like he is completely out of the direction or somewhat of the voice or the writing of the character.
That's true. That's very true. But it's like, essentially, here's the thing. Now, here's the thing. I was on a stream last night about this, and the interesting thing about like, so the villain's Braniac, obviously, as we know, that much is confirmed. And it's the idea that if you're going to make Braniac the villain, you would have to, and you're in a world where the superheroes exist and are active. Honestly, it does make sense that Wonder Woman and at least Batman would show up in it, because in this universe, it's more justifiable to say, why didn't Batman or Wonder Woman react?
I mean, it's a little tricky. Well, that is something that we will bring up in like a couple of slides.
Mm-hmm.
So,
that's called foreshadowing.
So real quick, going back to this casting though, before we get into Braniac, is it's kind of difficult to kind of gauge or whatever why Diana will be in this movie, because if it is Braniac, what is the purpose of her helping? And if this is, I think the main problem of this is you're just thrust into a already lived in universe. And so if you're cherry picking when this character or hero debuts, what villain in order to bring them out, how the interactions, the team ups and everything like that, it's kind of like you just have to go with it, and it doesn't feel natural yet. Kind of like the Justice Gang in the first movie. It was very like, oh, they are a part of like this government funded team. Okay, but we don't really have the backstory of them. How did they exactly agree to this? It's those sort of questions that are still lingering that makes you wonder, how is this going to be justified in the next movie?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like even in that, it's if it was heavily with the amount of screen time that a particularly terrific gets, it's like, oh, this is the character that James Gunn wants to actually do. That's what it kind of indicated to me a little bit.
Exactly. You can definitely tell who's his favorites. I mean, again, Man of Tomorrow is more Lex.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But yeah, but with this, so the person's supposed to be tall, physically imposing, skilled in combat, strong, build in her 20s. That is Diana. At least for if you want to have Diana relatively in the same age as Superman, or at least around that age area, that would be that. So it's like, but obviously, the thing about it, it's like on that, going back to when I was talking about Gunn wanting to write all the characters, it's like you also have Barda and Maxima that we're going to talk about in a little bit. That it's like, it's particularly when you deal with like the Justice Gang is clearly like is clearly the JLI. So I'm like, if you want to do that, Maxima and Barda were both on that team.
True. However, because it says, okay, that's why you have to look at the specifics of the description. Because with Maxima, she it's more so she was a villain first and then became a hero. So it's not that, so you know, it's like that's a long story to tell in one movie. That
Mhm.
how she does have connections to Braniac, but she still has to go through her character arc. And I don't think you want to, rush through that in one movie. And then with Barda, that is one thing that even though she is the Mr. Miracle, animation is set in a DCU, she's barefoot and pregnant. She's married. So she definitely isn't going to be in her mid 20s. Um, you
There are
know,
parts of it where where she's in combat.
but she wouldn't be that young though.
Yeah, that is very true. So I'll give you that. And makes me wonder. I I don't think if we're doing this, I don't think that Diana is going to be like ancient when we meet her.
Oh, definitely not. And that was one thing that James Gunn said, that he wanted to do different, and it was some things of the DCEU, especially in that regards, that he didn't, like. So yeah, Diana is definitely going to be young,
Oh
modern
yeah,
day.
that actually works for me. So I appreciate that. So now let's talk about Maxima. So here's the thing. The point that Maxima has on this is that she is an obscure character. And as we know, Gunn sure loves his obscure characters.
True, but again, it's Maxima has a whole character development thing going on. She goes from a villain obsessed with Superman, and to having to go through, I think, death of Superman or something like it. Her arc is very long to become a hero,
Mhm.
and honestly, I don't think, if just like Crypto in the first movie, you can market that, but like the Justice Gang, and being that she is an obscure character and unknown, Maxima isn't marketable, to the wider so you can't really have that. She can't really be that much of a lead.
Hmm. That would be interesting. I get that. It's like that is very true, but it's like, remember, in terms of like you don't have time to do the character arc. If Gunn were to include her, I guarantee you it would it would come down to, oh, remember in the past when you came to this island and wanted to you came to this planet and wanted to mate with me? Yep. Anyway.
I mean, that is something that Gunn would do, but I just don't think that you would go from a villain to the hero that fast. I I don't know.
This is DC we're talking about.
True. But yeah, I just don't know if you would just go that stupid.
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, remember, DC Rebirth exists. Yeah, you can't
Touche.
refute that. You can't refute that.
Touche.
So then we get to Big Barda, and you have some points on that. Here's the other part that's that would since the Mr. Miracle series has happening. We know that Man of Tomorrow. They were, according to King, they just cast Barda. So it's like if she was gonna be in Man of Tomorrow, they would have had to cast her much earlier. Well, actually, no, they are going to be filming soon. So I guess they could. That does align.
Well, I think actually they had the voice actors cast a while ago or so, something like that. And it is more so other characters that they are still voice casting for.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't think, I mean, I would think that that would be her first debut, in the animation. It really just doesn't seem like, again, from the description, it just doesn't align, because it would be saying something like, I don't know, it would give more of Barda to say, I guess the age is really standing out. She, to be in your early mid 20s or whatever, that does not sound like Barda, especially when she is supposed to be having a child and married already.
That's true, but the part that really pisses me off is, okay, so we got Big Barda. She's this badass female warrior in DC. So what's her first appearance in the movies? Are we gonna have her like in this big epic battle, like with the female Furies and stuff? No, we're gonna do a story where she's barefoot and pregnant for 75% of it, and then she and Darkseid share a veggie tray to talk about peace.
Right, and also even with that, why would Barda be in the movie if no other new gods or anything like that is, mentioned?
That we know of.
Well, that's true, but it's still, I mean, I would think that by this time, especially, let's see, 2-3 months out of, filming, starting, we would have more information on other characters. But you have just this new female lead and this supposed male character as well. Yeah, they did try to speculate that it was Steve, but gladly James Gunn debunked that really fast.
Yeah, because trust me, no one wants to see Steve Trevor in a movie.
You also have Captain Atom, that was said to be in Creature Commando season 2.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's things like that that gives you hints of characters that are obviously being cast for a live action or animation. But yeah, I just still, Barda is, I would say she's a distant third of a choice.
Yeah, of the three, when I was putting the slides together and I saw you included Bart, I'm like, oh, really? She was a rumor?
She wasn't a rumor. It was more so, she's more of a theory for the fans, only because of the fact that Mr. Miracle's animation is going to be in DCU. And also, it was pretty much a generic thing with a description at first. But once you really like get down to the details, you can only choose Diana, of course, but it's James Gunn. How do we know that he's not going to make anyone generic across the board, like that, especially the female characters? So it could go more so on Maxima, and that's why I said that Barda is a distant third. only because she is supposed to be pregnant.
Yeah, that's true. Well, we also don't know how far in after Man of Tomorrow, Master Miracle will be taking place in.
I mean, that is going to be a long time because, pregnancy is 9 months. So are
So
we
it's
to
like,
say,
and assuming this comes out after Man of Tomorrow, they could align it.
so are we saying that what she's pregnant, and then say a year or two after that's when it's set? That's way too long.
Well, what they could also do is if it ends up coming out, if like Barda ends up being pregnant too fast, they could always do, because this is Gunn, this is the way he thinks. They could always have it where, because she's like a fury or she's like an alien, the child like develops faster within her or slower. Well, you tell me I'm wrong, that's not like something a comic book fan would think of.
They would, but still, it's a little bit too much. And also, if she is to be pregnant, like during this time, I would not think that you would have a pregnant woman fighting. Not
Well,
like that.
why not? In the Spider-Verse movie, we had that, and even in Marvel comics, we did that.
I mean, it's
That's
just.
me telling you Marvel sucks, Britt.
I mean, well, yeah, I know you being shady. First that was animation. This is live action. I don't think we want to have like this glorification of a live action, um, woman pregnant and trying to fight Braniac or whatever. Like, I get this is fiction, but you're just going overboard. Um, Again, her age is a no, and also going back to Diana, they are trying to fast track her solo film too.
And you better believe that if Supergirl does pretty well, they will fast track it.
Well, it's already fast tracked, so
No,
I
but they
would
will
say,
even more fast track it. They
oh,
will
I get
flash track it. Pun intended.
you. Yeah, I got you.
But it's just like, I think where I'm standing on this is like, I just wouldn't want what, because here's the thing. Guess what people complained about when Batman versus Superman was coming out, Britt?
What?
Why were Batman and Wonder Woman debuting in a Superman movie?
I mean, it was to connect to the extended universe. So,
No, but again, people were like, why aren't Batman and Wonder Woman getting their own movies first?
I mean, you have to have these, just like with Supergirl, in Superman. She had a cameo, and now, which leads to her solo film. So I'm guessing that is how they will do the connective tissues um, of the movies. You know, Now, again, with having her as a new like lead female, that is even more extensive than Supergirl's cameo. So yeah, it's very interesting to see how this is going to go about.
Interesting. So so now we're gonna get to Wonder Woman's possible role in the film, because there's quite a lot of like different like ways that they can take this particular like character in this movie, because we know Braniac is showing up. And here's the thing, I was also thinking about this. If Wonder Woman and or Batman show up in Man of Tomorrow, here's what the way they could use that. They could use it and use that as the justification for the Justice League establishing, not the gang, the actual league, and you can make the league a separate thing from the Justice Gang.
Well, yes, one thing that is correct. Superman, of course, goes into Man of Tomorrow. Man of Tomorrow is supposed to lead into Justice League or other solo films, which is by, well, right now, Wonder Woman. Um, so that is one thing that flows, accurately. Now with Batman, the thing is, you have the Reeves verse, and Man of Tomorrow and Batman Part 2 is supposed to come out the same year. I don't think they will have two different iterations of Batman at the same year, so close to being marketed.
Okay. Yeah, I'll give you that.
So
But it's like more of my point is like this is like the stereotypical, hey, we came together to beat a larger threat. Another threat could be coming. We should like we should form a team, maybe even a league.
now that I would say that might be one Diana's role.
Because I would love, honestly, if Diana assumed like more of the Nick Fury role, the MCU, like after they defeat Braniac, she is the one that travels throughout, and this is where we get the introduction of like Aquaman and like Flash, like the actual Justice League.
Yeah. Well, let's see. With the possibilities of the plot points, or the conflicts, with this DCU, you do have the metahumans versus the
Mhm.
government military, which is the Salvation
Yep,
plot
Salvation.
with
Yes, you do have that.
Rick Flag Sr. So it's the metahumans versus Rick Flag basically, and that is one thing that, of course, Diana would, sort of be diplomatic about. Try to help with that. You have Superman basically how I guess he wasn't not being like a authoritative, not like that, but in the sense of he did need help,
Mhm.
with dealing with um foreign country, conflicts and things like that. He's still a rookie in that area, and so he needs a bigger worldview. And also you have, of course, the cosmic threat of Braniac, but also teaming up with Lex Luthor. And it's kind of like, how is that going to go about? You need someone who could balance that out a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. It's like she is the one when they're constantly arguing that goes, "Can you guys please act like adults for once?"
Yeah, you basically need Diana to be not so much as a den mother and, babysitting two man children, not nothing like that. It's basically her being the voice of reason.
Well, the other thing that you could do with this that actually be really funny is you could do the whole where remember in Justice League War when Shazam sabotages the plan by accident and Diana goes, "You are a warrior, act like it."
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, it's a very like what's the word? It's a thin balance, but I feel like I would hope that they could actually do this, but then again, I've been disappointed before. So then you get to Diana as a political and moral counterbalance.
Yeah, which we just said, because again, you need that voice of reason. You need her to just give both sides. She knows the the way of the Amazons, how they've had their battles before, and of course she's learned from them. So that is pretty much her purpose, is to bring the ways of Themyscira to man's world. Um so with that, of course, her being a representative of Themyscira. Um,
That's even the way that they can introduce her. Like Clark is like covering, she's giving a speech at the UN, or maybe it's like there's like this big event that Ambassador Prince is speaking at, and Clark attends to cover it for the Daily Planet.
exactly. Something as simple like that. I think that actually was a story for. Um, I saw it on Tumblr once. It was a companion comic for, I think, Wendy's,
Mm-hmm.
and they were fighting against Braniac, and Diana is introduced to saying a speech for the UN, and Clark is in his, civilian reporter attire. So yeah, that works as a scene to introduce her.
Yeah, exactly. That was like because that way also maybe this time have her be introduced being a peacemaker and not necessarily a warrior.
Well, again, the description did say a warrior with an edge, so
That's the edge part is where I'm very concerned. I'm like, oh no, not another one.
Right.
Because watch, the edge will be like, oh no, she is the one that could turn evil at any moment.
Hope not. Hope not.
Oh, we both hope not. But yeah, well, also here's why Diana has to be plugged into this like chapter and stuff. Britt, what's the title of the chapter?
Gods and monsters.
What's the first word?
I know, gods.
So it's like, that's why when he announced it was called Gods and Monsters, I'm like, she should have had a movie, not a show. She should have been featured in phase 1.
Exactly. I mean, that is it's so funny to see some of the fans talk about, oh, he's going to, introduce the new gods, and that's pretty much who they think, the gods and monster title is talking about. And it's like, no, it's also the Greek gods, because
there's a very specific character that's very tied to gods,
and you also have Circe, who is tied to the gods too. So and also gods and mortals, Wonder Woman's title, just everything about gods is wrapped up within Diana. And it's like, yeah, why wasn't her movie within the first part of the slate?
It should have been in the first announcement. Jeez.
Exactly. It really does not make sense.
Swap out Booster Gold for Wonder Woman.
Exactly. However, because again, her movie is fast-tracked, this is the Gods and Monsters chapter. I would think that a light bulb came on somewhere and was like, well, yeah, she is supposed to be in the center of this chapter.
Well, remember, Britt, what had actually happened is David Zaslav identified her as one of the pillars of DC, probably looked at the slate and goes, why isn't there a Wonder Woman movie? Gunn, fix that.
True. Yeah.
And then it's because it's very suspicious that after he makes that announcement, that's when the Wonder Woman movie's announced.
That is true. That is true.
Like, in Star Wars, they say, as someone who is trained in the Force, we know that true coincidences are rare. So I'm like, what? It's right. Like, well, also, here's the thing. If there's a character that I don't think we've ever really seen Diana fight Braniac, except for Suicide Squad.
Right. No, not live action.
Or even animation. I don't think she's ever fought him in animation.
No.
So at least this will be interesting. So then we also have, because Circe's also in the DCU.
Right. So I forgot the name of the prison or whatever.
Belref.
Okay, yeah. So having Circe there and Lex, both of them hating Clark and Diana, of course, they should be able to team up, make a plan, and also, that will be a part of, if James Gunn, which we pretty much know he probably would, do Legion of Doom,
Oh,
so
yeah,
that
100%.
is another connection of why it would be Diana in this movie, because that is the setup of that.
Or I could see him also doing the Injustice Gang, because you have the Justice Gang.
True.
It's just such a stupid name. Anyway, but it's like, yeah. And this way you could also have, see, here's the fun part about this, particularly with Braniac and Lex Luthor. You have the more physical, like science-y characters. It's like science versus magic.
Yes, and of course, Clark and Diana are the in-betweeners of that.
You could even have Lex go, there are no such things as gods, just people playing gods.
That is quite the line.
Hire me to write this movie, Gunn. I will write a hell of a movie for you. and here's the funny part. I was talking to Robert about this, Britt, and it's like, if this movie doesn't come out, like let's say the worst happens and then somehow it just vanishes, I would advise anyone making a Superman movie, do not use Braniac, because Britt, this will be the third time a movie with Braniac has vanished. This will be a curse.
I was just about to say that. Obviously, it is some type of curse.
Yeah, at this point, it will be cursed because I'm like the fifth Reeves movie was gonna. Do, do you know how Braniac was gonna be used in the fifth Reeves movie, Britt?
No, I do not.
So remember when we did the Christopher Reeve episode, and you mentioned about how Supergirl was and Superman was supposed to fall in love. They're not related in this universe. Remember when he said that?
Mm-hmm.
So what had happened was when we first see Brainiac, he and Kara are actually in a relationship. As a matter of fact, well, it's like Brainiac likes Kara and everything. This part made Robert explode. It was hilarious, and so they arrive at Earth. Kara develops a crush on Superman, and Brainiac gets jealous. That's why he wants to kill Superman.
Wow. So it's basically like Braniac 5, but it's this Braniac and wow.
As you know, in the Tim Burton movie, Brainiac and Lex were going to merge together and become a being known as Lexiac.
What?
Literally, they were going to merge, like in the DCAU. Yeah, exactly. And Brainiac was going to create Doomsday that then kills Superman. But do you know what the original script idea for Superman Lives is? You're going to love this. So essentially, the death of Superman storyline happens, but Lois also dies in this. I know that sounds awesome, but bear with me. It gets stupid. And then a scientist named, I think his name was Cadmus. Yeah. So Lois was pregnant with Superman's baby, and she gives birth to the baby in 3 days because Kryptonian babies in this movie universe age faster. That's where I got the idea of the kid aging faster. And it gives birth, and the kid. So remember, Clark is dead at this point. Then Lois is also killed by, I think it's like thugs or something like that. So the kid is taken in by Cadmus, and Cadmus explains to him like who Superman was and such. So essentially the kid, so essentially John Kent was going to take over as Superman. That was the first draft. Yeah, I love that reaction. I love that. That's so good. But yeah, I'm like, will you guys please stop trying? It's like, but also here's the thing. I think also doing a live action death of Superman, except for one movie, BVS, is cursed as well, because remember that they were determined to do the death of Superman movie back then.
They just need to let go of that damn storyline.
Well, remember, Warner Brothers for some reason had adopted the Batman thing. It's like the only time you were ever relevant is when you were dead.
Well, that is true.
But Barry, that is the coldest Batman line ever. But anyway, so then we also get the new 52 influences, because here's the thing. Gunn is a big new 52 fan. You can see in the Superman suit, even though the suit itself is a pale imitation of the gloriousness that was the new 52 suit. I mean, hang on. I mean, look at that.
Right.
It's elegant. And same thing for the Wonder Woman suit. But it's like, okay. But it's like, I love the internet freaked out when he posted the image on the left. And it's like, they're like, oh my gosh, it's going to be the God of War again. I'm like, maybe he just liked a Wonder Woman image.
That, but also, you know, how superficial it was, because if he is a fan of the New 52, he wouldn't have...
he wouldn't have the Kryptonians being evil!
Exactly. But yeah, so with Gunn's comments, he did say it did raise concerns. With mentioning New 52, of course we know that because we don't want the Amazons to be villains or whatever, and that raised a big red flag, the fact that he demonized Krypton or the L. So it does give like a 50-50 chance of demonizing the Amazons.
Watch, he'll adopt the R word, the grapist Amazons.
Hope not. So he did emphasize that he does like both the warrior and the ambassador. So hopefully that means he could do, you know, balance that out. He can do the visual scale, you know, and if we are to have the gods, you know, appear in the DCU, that visual of, you know, Cliff Chang's art, now that that works. If you want them those designs, yeah,
But
hey, be different.
please don't make Athena an owl woman.
I would think.
Don't make Poseidon a literal fish man.
I mean, Gunn with his love of abstract, I would think so.
And his
You
love
know,
for animal stuff. I'm like, oh god, we're
yeah,
back to or back. I mean, if you want to give Zeus dreadlocks, I'm all about that. Go ahead
exactly.
and do that. That's
Yeah,
the one where I'm like, yes, please do that. That makes him look cool.
right. But yeah, we don't need the Zeus. We don't need the Zeus origin. Um, but again, if you are to have Zeus appear, of course, Dreadlock Zeus is what we would want. The Amazons as villains, demonized, and also diminishing somewhat of Diana's compassion. Even though New 52 Diana was compassionate and she, was that free spirit that we know she should be. It was still the fact that you have the likes of Jeff Johns and Scott Lobdell, um, Tomasi,
I'm gonna say this. Lobdell had again. I always point to in the Hell on Earth event. Lobdell had a great moment where Superman and Wonder Woman meet, and then the caption is she wants to jump in his arms and ask him about his day and stuff. She wants to call him her beloved. So I'm like, I'll give him that. He had some good moments.
I mean, it's some moments, but still overall, you still have where he called Diana like a monkey wrench for Clois and stuff like that, or
Oh God!
that
Why can't I ever give these people credit for anything before it's like she brings up the good point? No, to be clear, Britt, you're bringing up great points. My frustration is every single time I try and give DC people the benefit of the doubt, you bring this up, and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that.
because hell no, we're not giving him a pass. No.
That is very true. If I was intent on giving someone a pass, I would not have started a hashtag.
Right.
But yeah, the other thing is, I do feel like, I mean, okay, so the people in the comments are going to ask Britt, what do you think they're going to do in terms of Wonder Woman's costume?
Honestly, if he's going New 52 is with Superman, but also different elements, from different eras, I would say the base will probably be New 52, the animated version, with the
Oh,
turtleneck.
you mean, yeah, see, that one I actually think is one of the best underutilized costumes for Wonder Woman.
I would think that she would probably have the turtleneck just to have the actress comfortable,
and probably have the actual corset be armored.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Because I've long said, why haven't we seen that? I love how, again, Young Justice is like, we're not associated with the Decamu. We just use the exact same character designs as the Decamu.
Very lazy. Very lazy.
Like, I'm sorry, that Wonder Woman thing, I'm like, what?
Right, that was very lazy. But honestly, I think that they will go the route of mixing different, elements of eras for the costume.
Yeah, they kind of did that with. I could see instead of using the silver like W breastplate they had in the Decamu, going with more of a gold thing instead. Because I feel like at this point, gold has been associated with Wonder Woman's costume, particularly the W chest piece, way more than silver has.
Exactly, but also with Creature Commando, you did see her in the classic, bathing suit. That it Okay, so it really depends. It doesn't necessarily mean that is the final version of the costume and what she will have.
Because
No.
again, we're seeing a future, and also here's the thing: that could just be how people see her.
Exactly. So it's not necessarily the final say, but it could give an indication because Superman did have his live action suit, and also I think it was Hawk Girl. You do see her a bit, and she does have the live action suit.
And the other thing is, like, Gunn made a big deal about when Batman showed up. He's like, I need to make sure that Batman's design is not shown because we haven't finalized that.
Exactly. So it does give some sort of indication of basically where they want to go with the design, which is the classic bathing suit.
The other thing that they could do, again, that I would appreciate, if they're going to go with the classic bathing suit, the very least, yeah, do the collar, but also maybe do like I know they won't do like the skirt from Golden Age, but at least maybe go with like the costume from Golden Age in terms of like the Star Spangled part.
And also give her like, I would like for her to have biker shorts. Only, again, you want the actress to feel comfortable.
Yeah, a little longer, in other words.
Yeah, give her some biker shorts. You don't need, riding up and everything like that, showing cheeks like no, it's unnecessary.
And I swear, if she has a braid, I will scream. If she has I swear, when I saw the preview of Stephanie Williams' Wonder Woman, I saw that braid, I was like, oh, come on!
The only reason why we don't like the braid is because the way it's drawn. So it's basically like she has a shaved head with a braid attached at the back, and it doesn't look very natural.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't become of Diana. If she had like a messy braid or something, and I believe we've had artists that have drawn her with a braid before, and it did not look that bad.
Well, it's also because at this point, Samper's art is a little stiff, probably because, I swear, if his art in the Spider-Man Superman crossover is better than Wonder Woman, that will confirm our suspicion that he is just like bored with drawing Wonder Woman.
Right.
But anyway, so then it's like the thing is, now my concern is, because yes, Gunn is a new 52 fan. I have yet to see a lot of new 52 stuff. Granted, the whole Superman versus the government thing, that is very much from like Grant Morrison's Action Comics, but most of what he's doing is very post-crisis. However, if he has a scene where they first meet as Superman and Wonder Woman, and he says, "You're strong, I know," then I'm going to be like, oh, wait.
I don't think that... Yeah, it'll probably be like little comic references here and
I'm not saying they'll do the relationship, but still, it's like, if you'd give me that reference, I'll be like, I'll take it at this point.
Honestly, as long as they have a respectful, bestie relationship, of course, people are going to ship them anyway, because it's SuperWonder and people gravitate to them naturally.
And Corn Sweat said he wanted a love triangle, although if he has Diana be a temptress, I'm going to also scream.
A temptress, a mouthpiece, whatever, humiliate her.
Watch a Superman Wonder Woman movie, the first one ever, turns out to be an adaptation of Immortal Beloved.
See, don't put that in the universe. Don't do that.
Trust me. And then that's when Britt and I do an entire episode where it's just 3 to 4 hours of us screaming into the mic
and saying some words in different languages.
Well, we will find creative ways to swear, but it's like, in terms of like, I definitely feel like a couple of the things that even you have here that I'm fairly certain they're going to do in terms of their iteration of Diane. She will be the Clay origin, because they already did the Zeus origin last time. It would make sense if they did the Clay origin this time. And I kind of see, here's the thing. Britt and I just joked, I don't think they're going to do the new 52 Amazons, because you have any idea how much of a PR hit that would be?
Yeah, that's true.
that would be, and luckily with the Amazons show, that's also the opportunity, the Paradise Lost show, for them to establish the Amazons aren't this way. So it's like, oh, please, please. I mean, you don't have to have them be like, hey, men, come on in. But it's like, please don't have them like just needlessly kill men.
I don't think so. I mean, they did say that they want, Paradise Lost to be Game of Thrones-ish.
Mm-hmm.
So very dark. If you've ever watched that, it is very dark, scandalous, and everything.
Boy.
So
That would here's the thing. If it's dark and scandalous, it also makes sense why they want the Amazons to call each other sister.
well,
Call Greg Rucka. I'm sure he would love to write that. He did it already.
yeah, but no, we don't want Rucka. No.
It would be quite the rebirth, wouldn't it? Or afterbirth in this case. But the thing is, see, here's the thing again. So going back to this, what they need to make sure they do. I'm fine if you show Diana being a badass warrior, because Britt, she is, right?
Right.
But the problem is they also need, because as of yet, now it's not necessarily Zach's fault because the universe was like chopped off at the knees before he got a chance to like really establish, because if you look at his original plans, he was building toward Diana being a diplomat as well. But we haven't seen her be an ambassador. If you open up and the first time we see her is not even in a fight, is her in like the UN or doing an ambassadorship, you will have gained points. Not a lot of points in Brit and my estimation yet, but you will have earned points. It's
true.
Gold star. So it's like, I don't know. We'll see. That's the biggest gamble. But then we get to the hopes and wishes. Okay, so this is what we want. Now, Britt and I could be extremely too optimistic about this. And oh boy, I really hope we're not. That's my job. Britt's the pessimist, I'm the optimist.
All right. So, being a peer to Superman, of course, not a subordinate, which, I mean, she is a pillar, so why would that be? A figure who commands and demands, respect without needing validation. It's not this whole badass girl boss, obnoxious type thing. It's not that. It's just she is respected, because of who she is and what she stands for. And also her not just physical strength, but her strength in intellectually, emotionally, and just understanding other people, and again showing her compassion. That's what we want from Diana. And again, she is also a social butterfly. Honestly, just take a page from George Perez. That's all we ask.
Yeah, exactly. Use that. Hey, Gunn, you keep highlighting all the comics that are inspiring the DCU. Keep doing that, by the way. That's a fantastic idea. But all you have to do, just put a PNG image of the cover of Gods and Immortals, and you know what? That will go a long way to showing me that you are picking the best. Which, here's the thing. I kind of feel like he will, because even King, now granted with Tom King, it was more like PR, but even King talked about how much the Perez Wonder Woman inspired him, and then he went and tried to undo most of it.
It inspired him to be petty.
Mm-hmm.
That's really what it did.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like, this is really. But here's the thing. Let's moderate expectations, though, because if it is her showing up in Man of Tomorrow, obviously she can't like dominate the movie because it is still a Superman movie.
I mean, she still can, regardless.
Well, yeah, it is. She is a co-lead of the movie. That is the other thing that's part of it. So it's like they could, but I'm like, again, it's like moderate expectations because it is still a Superman movie.
True.
Now, if they change it to Superman Wonder Woman, then you have another. Wouldn't that be hilarious if the first Superman Wonder Woman movie is this?
Well, again, as he said, it is supposed to be a Lex movie first, and then Superman, and then whatever role Diana plays. So I don't know. Again, I really don't know how that is going to balance out. Um, it just seems like a lot to juggle. But for her to be, maybe this is kind of like a test run of, as I said, this movie is supposed to lead into the Justice League movie. So obviously Diana is going to be a much bigger lead in that and also co-lead the Justice League itself. So yeah, that's probably what it is.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we'll see. But so we also want, and this is the big one, balanced characterization. Because you can have both. To be clear, showing Diana as a badass warrior is totally fine. You can't ignore again, I loved in the Snyder cut when Diana saved those people at the bank, and she had that nice little moment where the girl asks, "Can I be like you someday?" And Diana says, "You can be anything you want to be." I'm like, see, those are small moments that you can do, but also show us with her being, because particularly in a universe where these characters are already established, in my mind, you have no excuse not to do the embassy.
True. I mean, it really depends on how far established she is, though, because new Diana, she was learning from Julia for maybe 5 years, and then she went let's see, I would say, I think Burns' run was her 10-year mark.
I would say so,
maybe.
yeah.
Or no, I think, wasn't she 23 there or 25?
In the Byrne run?
What? How? I know that her age was mentioned in that run, but she was like, I know she was in her 20s. So yeah, and she still had not truly established the embassy yet. So I would say at least have her as like a student or something. Like,
yeah. So according to this, it's like in John Byrne's run on Wonder Woman, Diana is depicted as being hundreds, if not thousands of years old. That's a lie. And she's an immortal Amazon from Themyscira, but her apparent age in modern times was typically presented as a young adult, often around 20 to 30s.
Well, that is kind of like a no shit Sherlock type thing.
Mm-hmm.
She's not thousands of years old. She is, it's funny how some, even, AI, of course, they gouge, data from places, and
because it's trying to combine everything about Diana's age, and I'm like,
exactly.
I didn't ask for that.
And saying, Themyscira's time changes or whatever, but no, Diana is supposed to always be kind of like modern age of when she is created of clay. She is golden age, she was 19. The only time I would say that thousands of years old really was emphasized was in the Linda Carter show.
Yeah, I would say, well, because they had a massive time jump in the middle of the show, right?
That, but I mean, her being in wartime, and then the massive time jump of her being with, well, not with, but you have Steve Trevor Jr. and things like that. But within comics, she was always her modern age. In Perez run, she was 19. In New 52, she was 23. So I would say that modern age Diana, again, she is supposed to be at least, I would say, by the time she begins to build, trying to have the embassy, maybe 25, somewhere around there.
You could do that. You could get away with that, I think.
So honestly, it really depends on what age or how long she's been active. Like, Corn Sweat's Superman was active for 3 years, so he's still very young.
Here's the thing. I think it was a mistake for Gunn to put an actual amount of years. If he had said, like, they've existed for a very long time, even thousands of years, you could say. But you put specific numbers there, and I'm like, bro, that is gonna bite you in the ass.
True. And even this, that's why, trying to pinpoint Diana's age and how long she has been Wonder Woman is very difficult. Again, you have Circe already in prison, so I don't know. Also, even Themyscira's mentioning is only because of Circe. But how long has Diana been active to change the view of what Themyscira is? We
Yeah,
don't know.
exactly.
We don't know that. So I guess all of those questions will be answered within this movie. But I will say that if Superman was already 3 years, I'm pretty sure Man of Tomorrow is probably about a year out. So this is probably his
Mm-hmm.
fourth or fifth year as Superman. And Diana is probably within her second year as Wonder Woman or something. So yeah, I don't think the embassy would be that fast. I honestly think that she should be like a student or something
Well,
first.
it depends on because are we assuming that she became active after Superman though?
Well, yes, if she's younger than him.
Yeah, but the whole age thing could be just for the actress.
No, I would think that if you want her to be young, she's not thousands of years old. We've had that already. We should not be having Diana thousands of years old.
That is very true. That is very true. But it's like I don't know. We'll see about that because it's like I do feel like if Gunn wants to like essentially skip ahead to where like to like where these characters were like the ideal form, I could see him saying, "Oh no, she was active before Superman showed up, and then she formed the embassy."
That wouldn't make sense. And also, you already had that with DCEU. The only thing that you're missing was the embassy. But having Diana active already is like, okay, you're just doing DCEU again. And that caused the problem because she did not have her supporting cast. She didn't feel established in that way. And again, stop having Diana thousands of years old. Like, that does nothing for her character.
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, it does something for the character. It hurts the character.
I'm talking about positively.
Well, yeah, that's very true. But Britt, so let me ask you this: what's your ideal balance for Wonder Woman?
You mean her age or?
No, I mean in general.
Oh, oh, as I said, her being a social butterfly,
Mm-hmm.
but and compassionate, very trusting, very open, you know, she loves life, loves love, and everything like that. But if she has to kick your ass, she is going to kick your ass, but she's going to kick your ass with love,
Okay.
and you are going to be taught a lesson. It's not that she's, um, you know, sword swinging happy or anything like that. She's not like this standoffish, cold type Frank Miller is characterization. No, nothing like that. She is just trying to make the world better and to make people understand, other people's feelings and emotions and things like that.
Okay, I see it. Now, what is your ideal age for Diana to give her both experience, but also that, like that, like fish out of water feeling?
19.
Like
She,
now?
if she is going to debut,
Mm-hmm.
I would say let her be 21. If she's 2 years out, she arrived, in man's world at 19. And then if she's 2 years, then yeah, she's 21. If she's more than that,
Okay.
then uh, pretty much close to Corn Sweat's age. So I'm guessing, and she can't even be. Well, damn, she has to be older than Kara. but younger than David or, Superman.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess she has to be 25.
Okay, I can go with that. I can
And
go with that.
yeah, she most likely 25 because Corn Sweat is, I think his Superman is supposed to be like 27 to 30. So, and Clark is most of the time he is 4 years older than Diana.
Mm-hmm.
So we're doing a lot of math here that I'm just not
We're
like,
doing more
wow.
math than DC Studios probably has done.
But yeah, if she is supposed to be experienced, the max age is 25.
Mm-hmm.
No, anything else more than that, and definitely not thousands of years old. Like, I'm so tired of that.
Yeah, exactly. So then we get to honoring George Perez without imitation. Because here's the thing. If you do like basically that plot line, and I also feel like it would be smart for them to do the Steve is not her love interest, but like her like not because I'm trying to choose my words very carefully. More like her guide and father figure or brother figure if you insist on casting a younger man as Steve. And watch, this is why I'm asking this, Britt, because if they put them back together for DCEU synergy, watch watch King. Oh, King, the cinematic universe that you're a part of broke them up in the comics now for synergy.
Honestly, no, even with that, because we already had them together in DCEU, and that was that was terrible for Diana. So honestly, either he does not exist or he is an old man.
Yeah, I would say do the Perez, like that's the other thing. I've long said that what they should do, like they like King talked about in the Trinity book that like Steve goes, I have to stay dead, otherwise you don't exist. Which I'm like, in that case, do bring Steve Trevor back if it gets rid of Trinity. But what I would do, I would make it where as a consequence of cheating death, when he does come back, he is aged up. Like that's the side effect.
I mean, that works, but let him be aged up to where he's like, I guess, still halfway, at death's door.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. But it's like the other thing that you would need to do have Julia and Vanessa. And here's the other thing: if you're gonna introduce Vanessa, don't can we get like at least a movie and a half without her becoming Silver Swan? Like to have the sisterly Tom King that that she has with Diana, because it annoys me when like even the DC AMU, there's a lot of problems with bloodlines, trust me. But it's like when they introduce, that's the first introduction to Vanessa, and it's like right to her being Silver Swan.
I mean, James Tucker, he tried to cram in everything, and reduced a lot of Diana's, characterization, her dynamics and everything, and he only cared for Steve, so he didn't really care to give Julia and Vanessa their proper um, character arcs. But I would say again, if you are to um, do the opposite of what DCEU did and have, proper um, supporting cast and everything like that, and how Gunn is taking from the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, whatever, and New 52, then yeah, the most prominent of Diana's supporting cast was Julia and Vanessa. And that really drives in her um, emotional balance and conflict in man's world, as well as not just, her fighting Circe or whatever. So yeah, I would think that if they are to be introduced, we are to see how Vanessa pretty much transformed into Silver Swan. So we get the sisterly bond, we get that love that they had, that you know um, how Vanessa admired Diana to the part where it really hurts Diana to lose her found family.
Yes, exactly. But I'm saying, because I just want to see that big sister relationship for at least a movie without it immediately going into that.
Right, I don't think so. I think if they play it right, you know, the first movie could be that. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I would say, yeah, the first movie showing that relationship, and maybe close to the end it interludes, or you know, it alludes to Vanessa turning into Silver Swan.
And the other thing that I would add, and you have it on here, but I just want to emphasize it with the Amazons, because the temptation in Hollywood is to make them very like anti-man. And I'm like, okay, here's the thing. You can have them be distrustful of man, particularly if you go with the whole Hercules thing, but please do not make them man bashers. That will turn the general audience off from the Amazons.
I don't think they would necessarily turn them into man bashers. And honestly, the Amazons really never were that. It's just
Let me be clear. Crappier writers have done that, so that's why I'm making that little addendum.
right. I just think that, you know, you don't need to gloss over the fact that the Amazons were
Yeah.
women of abuse, you
Yeah.
know, across centuries.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't need to have them as mouthpieces to glorify man's world, to say, oh, now modern men are the greatest ever. No, we don't need that either.
No.
You need that reality of these women went through a lot, and yeah, men still are not trustworthy, but it is very low bar, but a little bit better than what it was, and people are learning. You know, it's all about, honestly, if I were to do this universe and having everyone so young, it would be a universe about learning and, you know, those stumbles or whatever. And that will be one of the key points, especially with Diana, is showing her basically what she was told, you know, the stories that she was told from her mothers, and I do emphasize mothers,
Mhm.
and her aunts, or you know, whatever you want to call them, and then let her see how the modern world is, and through her eyes you see that, yeah, things have changed. You know, some things are still the same, because you do have domestic violence and everything like that. You do have men going to war, you know, children being abused and everything like that. And that what makes Diana wants to change it more. And then to see, you know, someone so innocent like Vanessa, who's so cheery, and like her first advocate, her first fan, you know, and who's also her younger sister, that makes her fight even more.
Yeah, exactly. But so it's like, but it's like that's just my concern when it comes to like the other like the other writers in Hollywood, because that's what kind of happens, because they think female empowerment means men suck.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, but essentially, like, and also, if we're doing this where like it's established, what you could do, it would be nice if we like establish that the Amazons are like, like not necessarily integrated as in like they are all living amongst men. Maybe some do, but it's like maybe make it so that the Amazons aren't necessarily as closed off. Like they're essentially the way like Ruck and Perez had them, where they have like state people come over and like share cultures and stuff.
I would say the Amazons are isolated until Diana,
Yeah,
you know, kind of
that
like,
works.
which is going to be her second year.
That works for me. I'm fine with that. That actually works. And then, of course, we're gonna get to respect for the Amazons, because again, it's like, do not go the route of like girl power, men suck. Again, I want to emphasize that, but it's like you could still do the story of like what you can even have Wonder Woman go. You can even you could have one Amazon that like doesn't like men completely, so Diana can have that moment like, I fight alongside men all the time on the Justice League, or like at the time the League probably does not exist yet. But the point is, there are men, particularly Superman, that uses his power not to dominate people, but to help people and to like serve them. So not all men are like savages.
Yeah, but we don't
Be
want
very careful though when you say not all men. I get it.
exactly. I was just about to say that you can't just, it's a tightrope that you're basically
Like, don't
walking
say
with this.
again. It's like, don't have it go where like Diana goes, not all men, not my Steven. By the way, can I say again, Diana? Even Gal Gadot never called him Steven.
The whole thing of having Diana talk like a robot or just so formal or whatever, it's like, no, that's not her. She talks, with respect and very proper in a sense, but once she gets to know you and, you know, friendly with you, she talks to you basically like that big sister or that homegirl or whatever that you
Yeah.
can talk to. So calling him Steven, if you were supposed to be like the love interest or whatever, I, you wouldn't be calling him Steven. And the way, even if she called him Steve, it still sounds so, I don't know. It's just unromantic.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. But there's a lot about Diane and Steve's relationship that's unromantic. But
True.
and again, I cannot stress this enough. Do not make them villains. Then I will riot, because how many times have we had? Because again, part of the reason why people think that Diana is too like a warrior woman is because of the misconceptions about the Amazons.
Right.
But I mean, yes, the actual mythological Amazons were savages, but it's like not the DC. This gets into the Brian Azzarello. I know he was going for a more mythologically accurate Amazons. The problem is when you have, for like at this time, decades of the Amazons being a certain way, and then you suddenly completely diametrically change them, that's when the problem arises.
Right. It has to be known you're dealing with the DC Amazons, not mythological accurate or, the realistic Amazons.
Exactly. So then we get to one of the reasons why Britt and I were going to cover this, Clark and Diana's relationship, because I could see it starting off as like a playful rivalry. Playful again, because it's like you know how like it's like if they're fighting like an army, like Braniac's army. Superman goes, "I bet I can take out more drones than you."
Right. Something like that would be cool.
Just to establish their camaraderie, because romantic or not, Diana and Clark have that solid camaraderie. And again, the "you're strong, I know" moment would go a long way to establish that. But it's like the other thing, it would be nice also, because they could still do the speech from Justice League 12, the conversation, even if they don't take it in a romantic direction.
That's true. And I think that honestly, Clark needs that. He needs someone to understand both sides. And honestly, Mr. Terrific, Hawk Girl, and Guy, they aren't the type, to understand that, to have that sort of conversation. Lois, she doesn't truly understand, both worlds. So, yeah, bringing Diana in where she is right in the middle just as much as Clark, that makes sense for them to have those type of conversations. And that is what we also reiterated, is that even though post crisis had its ups and downs and a loss of downs with trying to, screw up their relationship because of the status quo of him being married, it was still that they were best friends. And you still had these moments where they did have conversations of understanding And that's pretty much what we want for this live action. Um, Establishing their relationship, even if it goes in a route of like, say, New Frontier as well. Something like that. That makes total sense. If you don't want to have it too much in a romantic type way, but it's still that sort of hint there, because that is what their relationship consists of.
Although, if you want to take it in a romantic way, that would also work to separate your version of Superman from all the other ones that have shown up instead of making the Kryptonians Viltrumites.
True, yeah.
There are any number of ways you could have done that. But you need to emphasize, the way I kind of see it is that you also kind of had this in the first Superman movie where Clark was feeling kind of isolated from people. And it's like the very fact that it's like with the government and stuff going after metahumans as well. And you can have like Diana being that one person that's encouraging him to constantly be like who he is. She can also be the one, because he can express like still hesitance about wearing the S, even though that like what the Kryptonians sent him for, and then Diana can tell him, you can redefine what that crest means.
That, and also please have her call him Cal.
Well, at least, yeah. Here's the thing again. If she's in the Daily Planet, obviously don't call him Cal.
Well, no, don't have.
Also,
course.
Can you imagine that Lombard's reaction when Clark is like, yeah, I have an interview, and then Lombard's like, oh, who is it? Another country bumpkin. Then Diana walks in. He's like, oh, he's like, how do you do it, Kent?
Right. That would be a very interesting scene.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and it's like, now obviously, again, don't overdo the slobbering over Diana, but it's just that one moment I like that. But you can also, and now you can do a less extreme version of the, I mean, you could do this, but I hesitate to do this for obvious reasons, but you could have the conversation where Diana and Clark are talking about how powerful they are. The Jeff Johns conversation where they go like, no one could stop us. But you can have it where like they say, but luckily we're not the bad guy, so we would never do that.
I mean, it's the way, honestly, the way the conversation was, it was very much taken, it was Batman's inclusion to say, you don't mean that, Diana, the way it's going to be taken. But the way she was written to say it before Batman showed up was, no one would think that she meant in a dictatorial type way.
And besides that, when Bruce goes, it's like, I know you wouldn't say that, but the people wouldn't know. And I'm like, who's gonna tell them she said that? You?
Right. And also
they're in the desert.
But she also said that we're gonna give women and children food and water. It's like, okay, so that's a bad thing.
Yeah, it's like we're giving people, like, we're not fighting the military. All we're doing is giving people food and water. What's the problem? It's like, again, honestly, no, this would work great, because remember, with the whole Baravia thing that Clark intervened with in Superman 1 off screen, that can play into that. And she could go, Cal, you like intervened in Baravia because people were going to die.
Right. She understands that.
And also be a nice opportunity for Clark to emphasize the champion of the oppressed thing. But who knows there? And then you can have it where like it's the movie that like really like emphasizes their connection. But again, you don't have to do the whole romance angle. If you do, then that's actually a nice bonus. But like Britt said, it's like
a bonus.
Yeah, it's like, well, first off, I would gain a hell of a lot more respect for Gunn if he did that. But it's like if you at least represent the friendship properly and not like I swear, if you have Diana say that something along the lines of Lois is your true love, like she did in Death of Superman, that's another screaming moment, Britt.
Yeah, honestly, there's no reason for that. Like, Diana's debut is her debut, is introducing her, is her story. Honestly, she has no reason to talk to Lois in that way. Like, that's really, if you have something like that, that's very insecure.
Well, yeah, exactly. And remember, it was very insecure because what was Tomasi's reasoning for that line?
Well, for James Tucker or
Oh
whatever,
yeah,
he's
yeah.
the one that,
Oh yeah, yeah.
for the audience to accept, um, Lois as the new love interest, or
It's kind
whatever
of
like that.
funny how it's like whenever a writer tries to make people like a character like Steve Trevor or like Lois, it always, and again, I can use an absolute statement with this, pun intended for DC, but it always blows up in their face.
True.
Isn't that funny? Because I put out a tweet actually while we were recording it that says like King's emphasis on Steve to this degree is actually making people hate Steve Trevor more. And I was talking to Robert about this, and I'm like, the whole men should not be involved in Wonder Woman's world period wasn't as strong as it was before as it was now because King started pushing Steve so much.
I mean, yeah, you did have some, fans wanting the, not to have any male characters in the book.
Some of them, but it's like it wasn't as like big as it is today.
But now, yeah, and it's really because of Steve. I mean, if you go back to really, again, that is why George Perez is the blueprint or the golden standard. He had Steve as the older, brother, the father figure. Um, and then you have Clark too, as basically the second, male support. And he was Diana's best friend, whether they ended up in a romantic situation or not. It's still that he was that support for her. And he didn't overshadow her or anything like that. He was just there for her. That is how you write, those types of dynamics, especially when you have Wonder Woman and her female supporting cast too. How to balance that out. But as we go along, after Perez leaves the book, you do have you you don't have many male characters, but it does start to revolve around the love interest. Um, like Phil Jimenez with Trevor Barnes. The way Diana was characterized and written in that way, she was like a very dramatic, spoiled princess crybaby,
Mm-hmm.
and the way she was she needed to be humbled by Trevor Barnes, and how she was a little bit almost obsessive with him. Yes, we know that it was a projection from Phil Jimenez, but at the same time, that is where that started
Mm-hmm.
to become a problem. Then you
Yeah.
have Tom
And then,
Tresher.
yeah, I was about to say, and then you have
Um,
arguably who was the worst love interest she's ever
yeah,
had.
you have Tom Tresher where it was Diana having baby fever or whatever, and didn't want a true romantic relationship with him. She just wanted someone to give her a baby, and it was like, no, that was totally misguided.
Diana would never say that. So Gail Simone, that is why that one issue is why I do not like the Gail Simone run. That's it. And so when
Right.
people ask me why, it's that page.
And then you have Greg Rucka, which both his 2003 run and Rebirth, where you have her supposedly secretly in love or whatever with Batman because he has a obsession with Batman and trying to make Diana this dark character. And then you have Rebirth, where basically, despite her relationship with Clark, have her codependent with Steve. And that pretty much is the domino effect of why we are in the situation that we are in now with Tom King. And then Tom King's run, you have her obsessed and just very pathetic for Steve. So yeah, honestly, the only relationship that was very healthy for Diana was Clark.
Isn't that interesting?
Right. So if you are going to have some type of romance, though, it has to be where it's secondary, honestly. Even with the first movie with Lois, Lois really didn't have much of a role except for be the love interest. She did as much as a love interest would, you know. And again, if you have to use Diana as her debut to talk to prop up Lois, honestly, that says more about how weak Lois's character is and the foundation that you're trying to set for if you want to continue on with Clovis or things like that. You should not use your premier or your, strongest female pillar as a mouthpiece.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, so then you get to also more meaningful Superman. Like what you could do is also you could have Diana like help Superman like maybe research Krypton and maybe use this to retcon the message. Or well, the other thing that I would do is that here I figured out a way to retcon the message but still keep the effect from the Superman movie, Britt. What you do is you have a prequel series on Krypton where it's revealed that they said that message under duress from General Zod. That way the message still happens and it still has that effect, but it's not a character assassination of Jor-El and Laura.
Honestly, if
because he's determined not to retcon the message because he thinks it would undermine the thing of the movie. But I'm like, no, this way it doesn't.
Honestly, forget that. You undermine the whole entire point of Superman being a man of two worlds and his whole message of being an immigrant. So I don't care if that does undermine your misguided, message or whatever. It needs to be retconned. It needs to be thrown out and just have it as a message that was manipulated by Braniac.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Yeah, you definitely could do that. But it's like, what the other thing? So now that you've done the human way, how about you do it where like Diana encourages him? Is like you get to define what Krypton's legacy on Earth is. So at least you're not completely assassinating Krypton.
I mean, if you have her do that, that is totally fine.
I'm just saying because it's like I don't because it's because of the Superman movie that we have people that say that it doesn't matter where he comes from, no one cares about Krypton.
Yeah, and that is just so. Again, we talk about it all the time and fight against the whole xenophobic narrative, and James Gunn pretty much doubled down on it to where the fight is even
tripled
harder.
Down on it.
True. And yeah, the fight is even harder to get the respect of the immigrant story. If you're going to use that to say Superman is an immigrant or refugee and say this is his story, then respect that part of it.
Well, here's the other thing, Britt. You know what's really hilarious about that? Gunn said, "Oh no, it's the Superman movie is an immigrant story," and I'm like, "But
Where?
well, beyond that, but you made it so where he comes from wants him to have a harem."
Yeah, that is very.
The minute I checked out, the minute he said, well, that the reason why he did it was because he's like, there are certain things that like have to happen with Superman. He has to be with Lois. He has to have this. He has to have this. So I wanted to separate my Superman. I'm like, first off, he doesn't have to be with Lois. Second off, that's what you change?
Yeah, I mean, that does not make sense at all.
I know, right? But it's like, fix Krypton and like, please make it so Jor and Laura aren't bad people. Because I'm sorry, you could say all you want. That's like, no, from their perspective, they're doing well. I'm like, no. They're evil. You represented them as evil in the movie. The entire world thinks they're evil. Fix that.
And the fact that it wasn't an ongoing conflict is like, it just wrapped up so easily. This is something that is supposed to really be an ongoing thing, a burden, something, because you wanted to have that happy ending or whatever for Superman and to show him in the fortress. with
He's still in the fortress. Here's the stupid part. And this is where I love the internet, Brick, because people were pointing this out. I'm like, if Krypton sent him here to basically grape the world, why is he still wearing the costume?
And also, even with
Honestly,
Kara.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, if they're clearly determined to go full post-crisis, Brit, and they wanted to give him a new costume, this would be the opportunity for him to adopt the more classic S.
But he won't.
He won't, but I'm just saying that's the way I would salvage it. But it's Britt, I'm going to make a statement. You tell me if you agree with me. Are you ready? This is worse than what Byrne did.
Oh, I agree with that.
Because at least with Byrne, he at least said that Jor-El was like the one guy that was like level-headed. In this, no. This is much worse.
Oh, it is. Definitely.
Like, it was to the point where, and you can go back to our episodes before the Superman movie came out, when this leaked, Britt and I were like, oh, please don't let this be real.
So true. Yeah.
Boy, it's like us before Tom King was on Wonder Woman. Oh, we how innocent we were back then, Britt. But so we get Braniac being the central manipulator. So speaking of the message, he can do that. But you can here's what you could also do. Here's what, particularly using Wonder Woman in this movie, Britt. On Braniac's ship, there are all these sorts of illusions and stuff that is like Superman sees like an illusion of him conquering the earth. Lex Luthor sees one of him killing Superman. Wonder Woman is immune to it because of her devotion to truth. So what she does is she takes the lasso and wraps it around almost at Lois, around Lex and Superman to snap them out of their like hallucinations because it's not the truth.
I can see that. I can definitely see that.
That's how you use the lasso properly, because like you even said here, it's like yeah, there you go. He altered everything. You could, particularly if you go with in the DCAU, which was one of the few changes I liked, where Braniac was just a Kryptonian AI. That I kind of like.
Yeah.
But it's like he's the one that like controls narratives and stuff. That you could definitely do because Braniac's all about knowledge.
Right.
So if you do that, but Britt, elaborate.
Okay, yeah. So you can, again, I really just want to emphasize on changing, retconning his whole thing about Krypton. The whole message thing is definitely having Braniac be, the manipulator. The message was, I don't know, maybe it was something is missing in between to say they didn't say for him to go and have a harem or whatever. It was, I guess it was saying not to or something, just something.
Or what
like
you just do is have it where they said to protect the world, be their champion, but Brainiac manipulated it.
Right, something like that. Also,
this is what you do. The real message is Jor-El telling Clark to be the champion of the oppressed. Aha!
That. And also going back to the lasso, you can even have where a callback to, I think it was JLA Versus or the Spectre, some story like that. But Diana wraps the lasso around Clark and she says, let your soul, join with mine. Yep. And in that sense, basically, he knows his truth, that he is both Clark and Kal, regardless, and that he does become the man of two worlds because of Diana and because she shows him the truth. And I feel like it's really a lot of manipulation there, even within the first movie, of whatever, message or story that Gunn was trying to say. Again, to retcon all of that and to make it a little bit more cohesive, this is where Diana comes in and bridges it all together to be something at least a little bit satisfying for fans who love the L's but also maybe he is that stubborn to want that conflict still, but it has to be something more than just them being evil conquerors or something. That just doesn't seem like, the full story. So Diana is the one that completes it with the lasso of truth.
Yeah, exactly. And you can even have what you could do. Here's what you do. You even have Braniac tries to manipulate Diana into you do the new 52 origin of the Amazons as a illusion. Then Diana's like, this is not my people.
I like that. Yeah.
Just so that way you could also, because that would also earn points with the fan base if you go, yeah, that's not Diana's origin.
Right.
So the other thing that you can do to involve Diana, Braniac miniaturizes the island.
Exactly. So basically, because he's trying to, take over certain things, maybe Themyscira has some type of technology. They do. Themyscira is supposed to have, advanced science as well. That is the one thing that Perez did. No, I think he did have that in a way, but it was pretty much an evolution with the Amazons and everything, but they were scientists, too. So Diana is very smart, of course, and she goes within that. So you can say that Braniac is also looking for something, on Themyscira. And so he, bottles it up.
Yeah, and he's like, fascinating. So you're telling me that they study metahumans? Because as far as he knows, the Greek gods are just like advanced metahumans. So he's like, fascinating. I will have to categorize this for later.
Right. So, I mean, that is another thing to connect Braniac and also Diana with Clark, is that they are both children of advanced intellect, I would say.
Yeah, exactly. So then you get to Clark and Diana as ideological mirrors. Now, okay, here's the question I have for you, because Hollywood likes conflict. Do you want to do a scene? I know you're going to say no to this, but I figured I'd ask this for people, where one of them is maybe a little too aggressive and learns from the other to like back off a little bit.
Oh no, actually you should have one.
Oh,
one
okay,
of those
good.
Kind of, yeah, no. You definitely should have Clark and Diana butt heads a little bit. And they are to learn.
Except
from
not the
each
way
other.
Themyscira did it.
No, not the way Themyscira did it or anything like that. It is for them to learn from each other. Basically, again, like New Frontier. They both have valid points, but at the same time, of course, Diana was right, at the end, but they both learn from each other. That is the one thing about their relationship, is that they, again, both have valid points, but, and of course, one is going to, outweigh the other, but they still have this partnership and is always learning from each other and teaching each other certain things.
By the way, how awesome is that Wonder Woman cover on the right with the lighting?
Yeah, the lighting is very beautiful.
It literally looks, and that's the perfect balance of Diana being buff, but not too like mannish.
Right.
Oh, look, Britt, she has a braid.
Yes.
Look at how natural that looks.
Exactly.
Isn't that interesting? I just noticed that.
Yeah, it's a messy braid. That is how
she even has braids on the side as well. She should have that in regular canon, by the way.
The halo braid, yes.
I love that. I love the halo braid. See, this is what you could have done. But no, you had to do that ugly ass braid. But so then we get to...
I think it was supposed to be like reminiscent of a rat tail.
Well, here's the other thing. It would have made sense. It made sense a little bit because it's like she had Trinity on her back like an idiot because she brought her kid into a combat zone. But it's like that would make kind of sense. But once her kid's like somewhere else, what?
Right, but they aren't thinking
Well,
at all.
you get one person that's not thinking. But anyway, in conclusion, it's like this is how you can introduce the gods part of the gods and monsters part of the chapter. And it's like, here's the other thing. Oh, here's how you introduce Diana. Oh my gosh, Britt. The world finds out that about salvation. So Diana is there to advocate, maybe on Capitol Hill, maybe with the president. Maybe she even goes to Argus because she's a diplomat and tries to advocate against it because she says what you're doing is tantamount to internment.
Exactly. I mean, if you want to go ahead and, establish her as the ambassador and everything, then yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, and again, see, here's the thing. And again, Wonder Woman needs more adaptations that are good. So it's like, please, please, please make this. Don't screw this up. Because if you screw it up again, this will be another time. Then you might as well start saying that Wonder Woman is a cursed character. Because you already have a crappy run, except for Absolute. Then we will have had the movies that start off good, then inevitably fall apart.
Well, it's not even her as a cursed character. It's not her. It's the fact that you have people who want to be in control of her character, but don't want to respect her.
Okay, that is actually very true. That is I cannot argue against that. So, Britt, tell me, what did you think of Green Lantern 12?
All right. So we are on the end of the arc, which has been very good. So you have, of course, still the high stakes and everything with the United Planets. But it is a bit overwhelming, and you see like a lot of stuff happening. Of course, you have the visuals, of course, the art, again, grand scales and everything. You have these large scale battles and the emotional beats of the characters. You have the return of Star Sapphire and Carol.
Finally back.
And she creates the emotional, impact needed and for Hal's, basically the full circle from first issue to this 12th issue. And then, of course, the story does end on a cliffhanger, and does set up for the next arc. And that is the one thing that Jeremy continues to do. He does have a lot of setups and cliffhangers, but he does in turn have these full circle moments where he finishes off his plot points. He does not really leave any threads dangling unless it's like this long ongoing plot that he wants to basically keep going. And then you have the backup with Guy, of course, that adds, just that little breather, or the comedy of it. So yeah, overall, I would say it's very good with the mixture of the battle and the character moments, and then Carol coming back, and I rated a 8.5.
Yeah, it's like so it's when I was reading this real time, it's like this was the moment where I was like, finally they put them back together. And I like the conversation where she goes, look, I've known you my whole life. I shouldn't want this. I should want someone else, someone more stable, but I don't want stable. I just want you. And I'm like, oh God, I love that so much. It's again, the thing about, and by the way, Britt, this is exactly how Jeremy Adams wrote them in the Green Lantern animated series. So you should definitely check out that series. You would love the way that they do Hal and Carol in that is perfect. But it's like, even with this, it's like, again, because it's like at this time, she didn't want to be a Star Sapphire anymore. I think she had like said, I can't do this anymore. And then it's like the one thing that will always bring her out, for lack of a better term, out of retirement is Hal in danger.
Yeah, she loves him, even though, it's a little toxic or whatever. It's a little here and there, but this is the one relationship I would say with the traditional vibes that, it's not as forced as just because it's traditional they have to be together. I would say that there is a story of them growing together, and it makes you want to root for them.
Oh yeah, 100%. And it's like and I like, yes, the Carol plot went on for a while, but at the very least, to your point, they Jeremy like resolves the plot in such a way that it feels like it was worth the long journey, and so few writers can do that properly.
Exactly.
In the case of who's we're writing Wonder Woman right now. So, but
Right.
it's but it's like it's like and it's like, again, the art and Zermatico, like that image of Carol showing up and the entire page is like glowing purple. It literally feels like it's glowing. I know we say that every damn time we review an issue by Zermatico, but it just happens all the time.
Right. It does, because it looks so, it stands out. It looks 3D sometimes, it's just so bright and everything. And I love the coloring.
Yeah, and obviously with a Green Lantern series, you kind of need good coloring.
Exactly. You need a lot of glow.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing about this series that I love is, here's the other thing, Britt. If any other writer, I think, any other any other writer would write the woman comes to save the man as extremely like preachy and stuff. Adams in no way does that. It's very like organic to the story, and and that's the other thing that I really love about Adams. Whenever he does anything like this, it's always organic. It's never like quote unquote woke. I know that like that word has lost all meaning, but you know what I'm referring to when I say woke.
Yes, right.
But it's like the other thing I absolutely love about this, again, it's like, and it is really funny, Britt. And we say this every time we do a couples comparison about how every other couple is allowed to have a super powered partner, but Superman
And Diana.
and Diana, because it's like,
well, they're trying to make, Lois, Diana light.
yeah, exactly. In some of the
Diana,
covers, they brought back that thing, and I'm like, no, that
right.
doesn't work. But
it really doesn't.
It doesn't help that like what design did you use for Lois? Oh, it's just Kara from Injustice. It's just the Laura Kent from Injustice.
That, but also, I mean, the fact that she's named Superwoman, and it kind of like some of the art, some people were like, they look like cousins, or so it's kind of, it really didn't look right.
Well, yeah, and the other thing, it's like you basically treated her like Wonder Woman light. So I'm like, what if you're going to do Super Wonder, do Super Wonder, don't just leave it there. But then again, that would require them to actually have some balls.
That, and it also requires that you don't have, the female as the sidekick. And that was the one thing that Lois was. Yes, she was learning how to use the powers, but she definitely felt like a sidekick.
Yeah, exactly. Or it's like she mastered those powers way too fast as well. And I'm like, no, that's not the way this is supposed to work.
And the excuse was, well, she trained with Sam Lane.
That's not how that works. That's not
the same thing, right?
I also love, by the way, how Two-Face. I will say the best part about this, Britt, is that it exposed how Two-Face the Superman fan base is, because all of them were like, oh wait, now she understands him because she has powers now, and everyone's like, wait a minute here.
Exactly. It's like, oh, so having the power, she understands him. I thought she was supposed to understand him with him just, without the powers and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's like, it's like even hardcore Lois fans that I know and they saw that, they were like, if they're gonna make this permanent, which they weren't, but they were like, if you really want to make this permanent, they might as well just put him back with Diana, because that's what it would turn into.
Right.
But,
I mean, because you have unique perspective, you have actual challenges, and it's a story that's actually there.
But then again, that would require DC to go past their nostalgia, because let's be honest, a lot of this is their over devotion to nostalgia, and actually have some balls to say, okay, you know what? How about we actually commit to it this time and put Clark with Diana again, but actually support it? Because yes, it started off 100% as a marketing gimmick. It definitely was that, but it blew up. So it's like when something blows up, like as big as SuperWonder did, you don't just throw it away because it's like, well, we don't want to do it anymore. No, you respond to what the audience wants. If the audience wants something, I'm sorry, it's your responsibility as what's the B word, Britt?
Balance.
No, the other one.
It's a lot of B words.
It's a business.
Oh, business.
As a business, that's okay. As a business, it's your responsibility to give the audience what they want. You don't get to tell the audience, you shouldn't want this item that I also have. You should want this other item. I'm like, no, if I really want that item, and the audience clearly did, you don't get to say, oh no, you don't want this. You really want this, or you should want this. But it's like you have too many entitled creators. That's really what it is. They're like, no, I don't want to admit that maybe some things aren't relevant anymore because that makes me sound old. And I'm like, you are old, Jurgens. Obviously, I'm still salty at some. Oh, and Tomasi, yeah, you're very old.
Well, Jurgens is older than Tomasi, so...
You know what's hilarious, Britt? I was watching the documentary for the show Krypton because they had this really great behind-the-scenes documentary about the show Krypton, and Tomasi's there, and he's talking about doing the marriage to Lois as if doing John and bringing the marriage to Lois as if it's something new, and I'm like, he has been married to her before, and they had a kid before. His name was Chris Kent.
You know that...
None of this is new!
Well, they have to act like it's new to sell it,
Oh, this time it's his blood relative. If it's his blood son, I'm like, yeah, but he still has a son.
Yeah, but it's blood, so biological kids matter more.
Well, yeah, and remember when Trinity got unreferenced in comics because they only mentioned the blood kids?
Yeah,
that's why I call them the blood kids now.
That sounds very
eugenics-like. Yeah, it does definitely sound eugenics. Funny how that ends up, huh?
Right.
But so then we get to Bomb Queen 12, and this issue went a little bit back to the very crude part of Bomb Queen that I've already said I'm not the biggest fan of, so there is that. But it's like I enjoy the government plotting to like take down Bomb Queen. And basically going as far as we're going to flood the place with criminals, which is kind of like interesting. But then they also do like the military operation. But I also like where she basically says, I'm so annoyed at this Image Comics universe, because I'm like, oh boy. Because technically all of their books are also in a shared continuity, Brit. They just don't really like reference it that much. So that's the really funny part about this. I was like, oh really, you did that?
Yeah, it feels like She-Hulk on like times.
This is She-Hulk by Garth. This is She-Hulk by Garth Ennis.
And you're definitely breaking the fourth wall, all the time in this. So it does sound, again, I mean, Bomb Queen is supposed to be a little bit raunchy, so you are going to have that there. But at the same time, at least it still has a story being told.
Yeah, at the very least, now we're at the point where the plot is starting to advance. So I'm like, okay, now I'm still good with this because the story is still... I gave it a 6 just because I felt the crudeness went a little too far in this one. But as far as like the rest of it is great. It's really pushing more toward having like having an actual like pushing toward an actual plot with like the government. First off, the government being behind Bomb Queen and all that stuff. That was like really amazing.
Yeah.
Like one of the best plot twists I think I've read in a while. So I'm like, that's why I'm like, okay, I'm still in because you gave me a solid plot twist. So I know you're going to give me a good story.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, the crudeness is there because that is, part of it. But yeah, as long as it has a plot, you can kind of gloss over that just a little bit. But yeah, understandable that it deserved, the rating that it got, though. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%. I mean, I get it. I'm not 100% against it being crude because that's the book's identity and stuff. I'm not saying it should cut that out now, but I'm just saying sometimes it does feel like it goes a little overboard in some issues. And I'm like, oh, come on.
Right. Which is understandable. Yeah.
Yeah. It starts to get a little bit into the boys' territory, and I do not like the boys.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it's like as far as like where everything stands, it's like, yeah, with Wonder Woman, it's really annoying being in a wait and see mode because Britt and I are also still in a wait and see mode because we're trying to see if in issue 40 they're going to get rid of King on Wonder Woman. But it's like as far as like being hopeful. I mean, let me put it straight. I'm much more hopeful for Wonder Woman in the movies right now than I am for her in the comics, honestly.
Right. I mean, until she gets a creative team, of course.
And she has muted, so we will await for Brit.
Okay, hold on. Sorry about that.
It's all good.
Until we know, the creative team and everything, that is basically
because that's the problem. Because I talk about how there's some good writers at DC. There's also some bad writers.
It is, and it's kind of like, I don't know. We just have to see who has respect for Diana.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I like to say Jeremy Adams is. I mean, Britt, let me ask you this. It's like, based upon what you've read so far, you've read 12 issues of his Green Lantern run. Would you be opposed to him handling Wonder Woman?
I think so.
No, wait, but by I think so, do you mean like you would be fine with him writing Wonder Woman, or would you be opposed to him writing Wonder Woman?
Oh, I'll be fine with him. I'll give him an arc.
Because remember, he actually he has a pitch. He wants to write her. So it's like, how often does that happen, Britt? Besides Perez?
Yeah. Having a writer who cares and wants to give it a go, I would say so.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, give him the shot, and I feel like he would, because think about Adams' writing. Is he writes like a fan of the character. And what I mean by that, he knows what the fans themselves want to see. Not necessarily like maybe a lot of his stuff like aligns, like he's like, yeah, I like what I'm writing as well. But it's also like, hey, he knows what the fan base really wants to see in a book, and he does it like every single time. So I really feel like, given the shot, this would be like and also here's the thing. You could say he's made a career of repairing Tom King's mistakes, as in the case of his resurrection of Wally West. Because Britt, after Heroes in Crisis, Wally West was seen as a permanently broken character. Like no one thought that they could fix him. Adams comes in and goes, "Hold my beer."
Okay, repeat that one more time.
Yeah. It's all good. But it's like, so Wally West was known as a character that was fundamentally broken because of Heroes in Crisis. And there were discussions like, there is no fixing Wally West. And then Jeremy Adams shows up and goes, "Hold my beer." He would then fix Wally West.
Oh yeah, that Wally West, and it was one more storyline, right, that he had to fix.
I forget. And people in the chat. There's another storyline that he had to fix. Go ahead and put in there. But I know he definitely fixed at least the Wally West portions of Heroes. I think he was the one that retconned that it wasn't Wally that murdered all those people.
I mean, the whole story was retconned because I think that when DC was promoting their books on Twitter, they posted Heroes in Crisis, and because of the flood of negative comments, they deleted the tweet. So it was like, with knowing that that was one of the books or so that has such negative impact. You also had other stories and books that King has written with negative impact. I'm just not understanding why it's such a stubbornness to get him off of Wonder Woman's book.
Well, no, because what they normally do, Britt, is because take the Batman run. His storyline was done. So here's the point that I really want to make here. Is what they're probably doing is so he doesn't have to run, because honestly, King rushing to end a story would be worse. So they're probably like, particularly if from what I hear about them not liking King's writing period is true, what they're probably doing is they're letting him complete the book, complete the story, because it's like, that's why I think there's a strong possibility that the Wonder War is the final arc of his run, because that does resolve all of the points. So what you can do there is go, okay, the Wonder War is over. The Wonder War ends the arc. Then what you do is DC says, okay, your story's done. You can go on, do movies and stuff. So what I think they'll do, what I think they'll wait for is to see, okay, so what state does he leave Wonder Woman in so we can retcon stuff out? Because that's what happened with Batman. His Batman run was ended, and then it's like they ignored practically everything else.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot to do, but hey, if you have to do it, you have to do it.
Yeah, and plus, it's from a PR standpoint, it works best if they say, hey, we let him complete his story. Plus, that way, if they want to really get the fans on their side, they can put the whole thing in a Black Label trade and just say it's Black Label. Because with Black Label, it's the case of it could be canon, it could not be canon, as in the case of Three Jokers, which they would later recanonize, but not the Jeff Johns story.
Right.
So it's like, I'm more like they're just waiting for him to complete, because that's the way DC normally works. Is like, plus, here's the thing, with the book being like, with him taking 2 issues off, it could be that they told him you're leaving at 40, so he had to like edit like 2 of the issues or like the story so that his run ends at 40. Because the fact that he starts talking about other projects that he would want to do, like Suicide Squad, and he doesn't want to do the ongoing book and he finds it like unfulfilling, that tells me he's leaving the book soon. You don't say that if you're staying on the book longer.
Right.
But yeah, in terms of like my thinking, I'm about in the 75% chance that he's leaving at 40 at the end of Wonder War. What do you think?
Honestly, about the same. Okay, King, honestly, I would say 70%, but with the fact of DCU being a factor, him being the showrunner for Mr. Miracle and all of that, I would go higher and say 85%.
Well, yeah, he did tell a friend of ours that he's thinking about leaving because the DCU workload that he took on was like more than he thought he could take. And he said he's in a transition. He's transitioning to Hollywood.
Yeah.
So that would be, and honestly, the other prediction I have is that he's going to leave the Wonder Woman run. And then the only time we see him write DC he's not going to write an ongoing title anymore. He'll write a mini to a maxi, so 6 to 12 issues. Because that's when, if you notice, those are his books that are like, for some reason, like enjoyed by the audience, not his like ongoing books. Because more people hate his Batman run. A significantly more amount of people hate his Wonder Woman run. But it's like there were still fans of Master Miracle for some reason. Supergirl for some reason.
Honestly, I would say Mr. Miracle kind of like, because he's such an obscure character and he's not truly defined, I don't think. So that is something
True.
that people could, attach to. And then with Supergirl, the only reason why people like the story is because of the movie. It's because of that announcement. It's not
And because
so much
they really like True Grit. That's why.
Yeah, it's not so much as if you read Kara and then read this, you would know that it's two different characters. Just like how we as Wonder Woman fans know Diana to know that his Wonder Woman run is Sugar Honey Iced Tea.
Well, yeah, exactly. And it's the other thing, I was talking to Jim from Weird Science about this. Shout out, Jim, if you're watching. The King works best when he's writing either obscure characters or honestly bad guys.
Because
like Penguin.
Because with bad guys, I mean, they're bad guys. So he can write them.
You could be as like emotionless as you want with them.
Exactly. And then obscure characters, they aren't, as I said, defined. So you can make them, honestly, even if they are OC, you wouldn't know it because they just aren't that well known.
Yeah, so I'm like, I know that for his ego, he wants to have 100. First off, I think we can all agree he ain't getting 100 issues of Wonder Woman.
Right.
There's no, honestly, you shouldn't go into a book going, I want 100 issues. No, you should go in there saying, I'm going to I'm going to try and tell the story with as many issues as I can. If I get more issues, great. I would love that. But I'm never going to go in and saying, I want 100 issues, because guess what that leads to, Britt? Guess what that leads to? Filler. Just so you can get, it starts to be, okay, you're just burning it on numbers so you can get to 100. That's what his Batman run turned into.
True.
Yeah, so I don't know. We'll see. Plus, also, here's the thing. If they do the whole, we waited for a story to end, it saves them from, like, having to say, look, they had to get rid of James Gunn's Golden Boy because, like, no, he completed his story. He completed his story. And also, here's the thing. With Trinity, here's my prediction for Trinity, Britt. Let me put it this way. My crazy prediction is that she disappears immediately after his run. Like, they don't use her at all. But my other prediction is that no one will use her, particularly since most people at DC don't like his writing. And then what they'll do is they'll just ignore her. And then, like, a year later, after not being referenced at all, they'll have Diana talk about the possibility of being a mother one day. Like, legit, like, that way they can say Trinity is not a character anymore. Unless King, like, has it where Trinity goes back and undoes. Because here's the thing. When Steve says, hey, I have to die for you to exist, that tells that if I was a smart guy, that could be like, this is him saying, yeah, if I bring Steve back, which I'm going to bring Steve back, that undoes Trinity's birth.
True.
That we can make Trinity just for the purpose of that run in and of itself.
Right.
She's a run-specific character. You still have it, and then you can say, okay, in the case of like the world in which my run takes place, yeah, 100%. She had a kid, but the other thing, then you don't have to worry about the horrible mistake of a character that was Trinity. But anyway, so Britt, do you have any stories you want to tease us with as we wrap up?
Okay, so of course we have Odyssey and Shelter that will be soon. Also a couple of one shots. I have 2. Just wrapping up editing on one that will go under something special. And then I have one for tonight, which is a little, it sort of feels like a in-betweener or so of Awakened Desires. So that is fun.
For the plot, right?
The plot in question. Yes.
Oh boy. Yeah.
So yeah, it's been quite fun to get back to those stories that I have neglected. um, and then I have more Wonder Woman threads that I will have the next poll, going up, I think Tuesday or Wednesday, to choose what will be the next one to go up. I did post the Wonder Woman reboot line, the hypothetical line of, what books that I would like for her to have.
including Trinity. I'm just kidding.
See, you be throwing it out there. I'm gonna say something one day. And yeah, so the next threads, I think that I do have a new 52 analysis, which is the companion of the rebirth analysis. I have also Diana and motherhood. I do have a thread which, basically talks about the children that she has had in, mostly Elseworlds, but how motherhood can help her, but also be a detriment. Um, I also have whether to review a comic book run. So if that is chosen, I will either run another poll to ask, which run to review, or it would be that I just post, a single tweet and people could comment on giving the run title.
Can I make a request for a story for you to review?
It depends.
Wonder Woman Odyssey.
Isn't that what Hesha?
No. That's Odyssey of the Amazons. Wonder Woman Odyssey was the last Wonder Woman story of post-crisis. And what this is what the timeline is fudged with. So it's like Diana only exists in a man's world. It's temporary. It's not like that's her new origin, but it's like there's like some stuff with time travel and the gods and stuff, and her origin is kind of changed, and we see the more hardcore Diana, but she slowly shifts into the more like good Diana. In other words, I'm not representing it properly, but it's a really good story.
Oh, that.
I think you might enjoy that.
Maybe so. Okay, so that is one that you could put down. But as for the other threads, yeah, it will be rating the animated iterations. So of course I will have an analysis of like Justice League Action, DCAMU, DCAU, Tomorrowverse, even going back to Super Friends. As I said, the new 52 analysis, Diana and motherhood. Then also ideal team ups, rating her costumes, and just asking anything related to Wonder Woman. My opinions, basically.
Oh, you do have some. Be prepared to hear some spicy opinions.
Very spicy.
As someone that has known you for 5 years, I'm like, when Brit gives her opinions, A, people listen, and B, certain people are going to be pissed off.
True.
You be you, Brit, 100%. Well, I'm the guy that did a video that is blowing up, talking about how much the DCAU Wonder Woman sucks, so I should talk about pissing people off. I'm the dude that made a video that made a video saying Lois is worthless.
Well, yeah, you did.
Yeah, you were around there for that time, and I was getting dragged, but still, it was fun. I won't complain. I won't complain because you know what? I'm just telling the truth. If people have a problem with the truth, well, then screw them. But,
that's right.
But anyway, speaking of right, I just want to say one other thing. It's that the comic has relaunched, and it's 74% funded as of this recording. So if you guys want to go, the comic will be in the description below. The link to back it. And I just want to say I really appreciate it, particularly to the Wonder Woman and the SuperWonder fan base that has like kind of helped this book out, because it means a lot being able to produce a storyline that's based on my love for DC, yes, Super Wonder, yes, but mostly for Wonder Woman. I mean, she's the reason why I wrote this, so I really appreciate it. Thank you. But anyway, on that note, stay heroic, everyone. By the way, Britt has read the book. What? Give a quick 5-second review, Britt.
Okay, so we are introduced to this lovely character, and yeah, it is inspired by Wonder Woman. It gives the essence of Wonder Woman, embodiment of Wonder Woman, and it's a thrilling, action-packed but very emotional journey of a female character, and it shows the female empowerment that we are missing from Wonder Woman. And so, Jared, that is very
written by a man.
I applaud you for giving this, basically the Wonder Woman that we need.
Yep, I'm happy to do it, Britt. I'm happy to do it. But anyway, stay at work, everyone. Remember, Lois Lane is Lois Lane. She belongs to General Zod or Braniac in this case. Oh, actually, they did that in the new 52. Zoe to Maxima for life. See you guys later. Bye-bye.